It's a pretty well-known, little-known fact that most toy lines are based on content, movies, TV shows, trading card games. Now, usually this content needs to be aimed at kids, but there's quite a lot of product out there in the toy aisle that's made from content that is, well, not rated for kids at all. In fact, kids aren't even allowed to see this, and if they are seeing this, shame on the parents showing it to them. So, in the 80s, we saw quite a lot of these lines pop up. Different toy lines that are based on content that is not going to be viewed by kids. Obviously, today you can get action figures based on anything because of the rise of the adult collector market and the availability of online shopping. So having toy lines based on very inappropriate content for children is very, very acceptable for adults. And that's great. There should be product for adults to collect. You kind of cross the bridge when you start making video games based on teenage sex comedies, I'll tell you that. But as far as action figures are concerned, when you are trying to make a figure based on R-rated content and you are looking for more than the adult collector market, which is limited, kids are where the money is, well, really it's all about thinking as a kid, sort of looking at a movie property from a child's perspective. All right, let me back up a little bit. A lot of the toy lines in the 80s that were based on R-rated content were actually sometimes based on the animated spin-offs. RoboCop is a great example. Terminator, on the other hand, no. There was no animated Terminator in the 80s, and these toys were directly based right on the property. Same with things like some of those Stallone movies, Commando, and et cetera, et cetera. They never had a video game or cartoon counterpart, so yeah, you can't really compare apples to apples. While some of them enjoyed a more G-rated content availability, shall we say, for the most part, for an R-rated concept to work for kids, it really is getting down to basics. Getting down to that core element that makes a toy a toy. No features, no paint, no deco, no lights and sounds. This is a toy car, obviously. It's a very basic toy car, but a child would know how to play with this if you put it in their hand. They would roll it along a counter or, et cetera, on the floor. Basic, fun, basic toy. When you look at the toy lines, the action figure lines that have been based on R-rated content, like the Conan the Barbarian movie from the 80s, even though this isn't directly connected to the movie, that was kids' access to it. Why can something like this exist? Why can something like RoboCop, an ultra-violent movie that, while it does have a G-rated cartoon, appeal to kids? It's because the concepts behind these things, like Conan and RoboCop, are ridiculously simple. RoboCop, it's a cop who's also a robot. He's got an awesome mask. He looks cool. Starship Troopers, one of the kind of final R-rated movies to get releases in the kid aisle. Well, it had the same exact play pattern as an R-rated movie that came out 10 years earlier, Alien. Well, Aliens. I guess Aliens would be 25 years earlier. Anyway, more's the pity to that point. The point being is both of these properties, Aliens and Starship Troopers, are just bug
It's going to
hunts.
be a stand-up fight, sir, or another bug hunt.
And kids can relate to that. They get how yucky and creepy bugs are, and the ability to go squash them, taken to a sci-fi level. What an easy concept to understand. The point is, you don't need to see the content. The concept is simple enough and unique enough that it works for play. So looking at Aliens in particular, an R-rated film with a very successful toy line and no cartoon, but look at how focused it was on destroying the bugs. Even if it's as blatant as, being on a t-shirt like this, and I absolutely adore that version of him. But even more simplified is the current Walmart exclusive Aliens line, where characters are essentially cast in colorful colors and you still get Space Marines. So, yeah, Army guy, giant bug alien. It's such a simplistic concept that kids don't even need to see the content. The content is responsible for spawning an original idea. In this case, giant bug aliens that are fighting against space soldiers. That concept is proprietary to the IP, but is broad enough that kids can get it. Of course, there's going to be collector versions of characters for R-rated movies, but again, I'm not talking about this because it's a very limited market, the adult collector market. The money in the toy industry is in kid purchase. So if you have an R-rated concept, or you're looking at an R-rated concept and think, I'd like to make this into a toy line. Ask yourself, is the concept simple enough that you can understand it without seeing the content? And the nice thing is, because R-rated films tend to be more detailed since they're aimed at adults, the concepts are sometimes, very unique and original. So can a kid play in this concept? This, even if they can't see the content, is the concept simplistic enough and the play pattern intuitive enough that kids could just simply play with it without even seeing the content? And honestly, a lot of toy lines work like this. He-Man is a classic example, launched without content, but you knew who the bad guy was, you knew who the good guy was. It was intuitive, and that's what can make an R-rated film or content toyetic. If the core concept is as intuitive as, He-Man versus Skeletor. It doesn't matter why the film is rated R. A kid's not going to see it, a kid's not going to see it. But R-rated films can generate IP, worlds, characters that are very toyetic, and if the idea stripped away from the content, bug hunters in space, robotic police officer who defends the weak, big muscle guy with big sword. The concepts work. You don't need to see the content. But just stop making video games based on teenage sex comedies. It is just not a category I can endorse at all. With that, I'll let you take it from there. I hope this video was a good insight into how you could look at an R-rated property and know whether or not it would be toyetic enough to be worth exploiting into the robust kid market. Thanks for watching, thanks for sharing, and I'll see you guys in the next video.